Hi, I'm Nigel Thornberry, and today we're gonna be discovering the wildlife of zebras. So kidding, I'm not Nigel Thornberry. If you know what that's from, kudos to you, you're cool. I gotta stay hydrated. So we're swapping the alternator on the right-hand drive Integra. So basically what happened, I got my car back from Mayhem. Driving home, everything was fine. Got back to the west side, turned on my headlights because it was nighttime and my battery went dead. Car started acting like it didn't know what to do. Almost put itself in limp mode by the time I got to my house. Everything had shut off on me, car wouldn't stay started. No need to fear because my coupe was near. Got the battery from the coupe, put it in the Acura. Next day, drove around fine, did my little errands and what have yous, hung out with the homies, no problem. Nighttime came and I was going to go to the Players Club meet, and on my way there on the freeway, same thing happened. Rule of thumb, your battery doesn't keep your car on, your alternator does. With that said, I'm changing my alternator. Shout out to AZ Part Out for hooking your boy up with an alternator for the Acura. I haven't checked if it's the right one yet, but we're 99.7% sure that it is the right one, and that's what we're gonna swap out today. And I gotta kind of do it quick because I have a part that I'm supposed to be buying for the Acura in a couple of minutes. So we're gonna see if we can knock this out in due time. So first things first, here's the alternator. I'm going to compare and make sure that they're the same. There's a Civic, there's an Acura. First things first, like I was saying, rule of thumb, your alternator keeps your car running, not your battery. Your battery starts it, your alternator keeps the car running and charges the battery at the same time. Therefore, I diagnosed my problem to be my alternator because of this. Car wouldn't stay on even with the battery disconnected, which it should. So therefore, I'm just gonna swap out my alternator and hopefully that works. Okay, so after comparing and contrasting, I found out that the alternators are the same. This alternator and that alternator, my only concern was that they were going to be different plugs because OBD2A and OBD2B are two different plugs for the ECUs and the distributors. And we also thought that they were for the alternators too, but I guess the alternators are the same. So we're going to go ahead and get cracking. So I have to take apart my power steering belt, needs to come off. My alternator belt needs to come off, and take off some bolts, and we're gonna get this cracking right now. First things first, unbolt this and make sure your battery is disconnected because that's a 12-volt source and it will blow you up. Okay, so we are pretty much done. Long story short, my hands got really dirty. I didn't want to touch my camera. I don't think you guys needed a step-by-step play on how to change your alternator in a right-hand drive Acura Integra because it's the same as a left-hand drive Acura Integra. The only difference would be over here, and that would cause it to be a little bit more complicated. Maybe that's why it was so easy. Anyways, okay, so slid right out, no issues. All I have to do is the power wire to the alternator and tighten my power steering belt, and that's about it. We're gonna start the car, make sure it runs, unplug the battery, make sure it stays on. If the car stays on without the battery attached, then I did everything right that I needed to do, and I can proceed to my evening, which is go buy some more car parts that you guys will see later on whenever you guys see it. So we're gonna get that cracking and I'll check back in. A couple of days ago when I brung this car home, we need a moment of silence. Daily driver problems for real. Tried to get up the driveway. There was a car where I needed to be, so I couldn't get the angle I needed. Daily driver problems, static problems, hashtag, all of those. So in the future, in the near future, there's gonna be a vlog of fixing that, okay? To be continued, day 2. Charging system problem. This is my friend. I'm about to change the gaskets on his exhaust manifold, something, Subaru, something, whoa, something. That's all I get from that conversation. He's gonna go get the bolts right now, and I'm going to continue telling you how I fix my charging system in this car. So here's the thing, it actually took me 3 days to do it, and I've already fixed the problem, so I'm gonna give you a rundown on how I diagnosed my charging system problem. So like I said before, the charging system, my battery was not getting enough volts. My battery would stay at 11 volts and drop from there depending on how much I use the car. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a play-by-play on how I actually diagnosed what my problem was. I did some research, and 1996 and up, a lot of our components, or the trigger that tells our computer that our system needs to be charged, is actually inside the computer and not inside the alternator like it used to be on previous years like OBD1 and OBD0. With that being said, I actually went out and found me an ECU and plugged in my ECU and figured that that would help my problem and tell my system to charge. And it did not. So unfortunately, unfortunately, I got a ECU that's tuned and has two-step. Make that kind of noise and irritate everybody else at car meets. So in theory, this is what I did. Now for all my electrical gurus, keep up with me. And if you're not so electrical savvy, just know that the car off, your battery should have around roughly 12 volts. With your car on, your battery should have roughly 14 volts, okay? So play by play, how I figured this out. Now I parked my Integra and my Civic side by side so I can compare numbers and figure out a rough estimate of what should be doing what. Second of all, what I did was I found my ground on my DMM, you know, just put it to some raw metal as you see, and I put it to here, okay, roughly around 12 volts. Now, this right here was at 11 before. Now, I tried this same technique on the Civic, and car off, the Civic had 12 volts. Car on, the Civic had 14 volts. So this is telling me that there was something wrong with this wire right here. I tested my alternator. Car off, it gave me around the same volts. As you see, it has around the same volts. I then turned my car on and tested the alternator, that right there, put the lead to it, watch out because it is hot. Now when I turned the car on, this gave me 14 volts, which means that my alternator is doing what it needed to do. When I put this lead on the power with the car on, it should have been at 14, and it was not at 14. This tells me that my fuse box is not getting enough power. Fuse box is not getting enough power. That also means that my battery is not charging like it should. With that being said, I needed to figure out why my alternator is not sending power to my fuse box. Now, the alternator has 4 wires that come out of it. 2 of those wires go to the ECU, which gave me the reason to believe that my ECU was messed up. Swapped out the ECU, wasn't the issue. Still doing the same thing, not charging. What I did after that was I checked the continuity of that white wire. Let me show you how to do that. So to check continuity, what you do is you get 2 leads, your negative and your positive, put them together, and you should get a number close to 1.0 or close to that. As such, this is going to be your base number, and mine is at 1.2. So in order to check the continuity of a wire, to make sure that there's no open in the wire, you put your negative to one side and your positive to the other side. Should read around mine should read around 1.2 or lower than that. It would be lower than that because it's supposed to be closer to 0. So I then check the continuity of that wire, put 1 lead right here and 1 lead on the other side of this wire. Now I did have the battery unplugged and I had this sitting on the floor, and I checked the continuity of it. Now this wire right here had 112. This wire right here had 112 point something. So I knew that this wire right here had a loop in it. It was defective, as you could say. So I ran to the bucket that has all your ex-Honda parts. Everybody has this bucket. If you work on cars, you have this bucket or box or little knick-knack things or crate or whatever. And it just so turns out that I had a wire sitting there from an alternator to a fuse box. I don't remember what car it came off of. I don't know how it got there. I just know that if this wire was 1 inch short, I wouldn't be driving this car right now. So what I did was I checked the continuity of that wire. The continuity in that wire had 0.8. That's fantastic. That's all I needed to know. So what I did was I put that to my fuse box and the other side to the alternator, started the car. I had 14 volts all throughout my charging system. The relief, I tell you people, was astounding. So I did do research and I did use my knowledge of wires and circuitry and how stuff and current flows to come up with this, and I have to say I impressed myself. Primarily because I couldn't find any how-tos or anything like that, how to do it on the interweb, and my YouTube University, that's YouTube University for y'all didn't know, they didn't have no answers for me either. So needless to say, I'm super excited. Figured out my charging problem. Turns out that it wasn't my ECU that was messed up, and it wasn't my alternator. I lied, my alternator was bad. I did take my alternator to AutoZone, my old alternator, and tested it, and it came back bad. So that's when I popped the new one in, and the new one, I did get the new one bench tested too, and the new one was good. So I left that one in the car, and that's the one that I'm using right now. So needless to say, car's back up, charging system is great, the thing gets down, it does what it needs to do, and I'm glad I know how to diagnose things, because I would be stuck like Chuck if I didn't know how to do that right now. So next, what we're doing, we're working on this Subaru. Quick look, you guys see, okay, done. Just kidding. We're changing the gasket on the exhaust manifold. These guys, I don't know if you guys want to watch me do it on his car. I'm not really happy about it. I just worked a 12-hour shift in the sun, and I really don't want to lay on the floor anymore. I want to go home in my bed and edit this video so you guys have something to watch. So as soon as he gets back with another bolt, I'm gonna knock that out.
A few moments later.
So you see the coupe? There's a coupe. Anyways, so I'm pretty much over this Subaru already. The homie's not even here, which isn't too bad, but I'm working on his car. He's not even here. He went to get bolts, and I'm over Subaru at this point. Bear with me now. He didn't have this gasket, and that's what I'm replacing. And this side had a gasket, but this side is bad, and that's also what I'm replacing. To get to this gasket, you have to start, this gasket, you have to start on this side, or else you won't be able to get this piece off. This piece off that's dangling, you won't be able to get that off. Mind you, you gotta take this piece off, and there's another piece off. Anyways, so I'm not a Subaru guy, so an average Joe like me wouldn't know that. Anyways, waiting for him to get back so I can finish putting this together. I'm pretty sure you guys will want to see me replace a gasket on a Subaru, because that's not why you're here. You're here for my car. I don't know why you're here actually. My flashlight just rolled on. But I do appreciate you for being here, but I'm pretty sure you don't want to see me put this gasket on, so I'm gonna wait till he gets back and I'm gonna check in with you guys then. Remember how he said he was gonna be back and help turn wrenches? Yeah, let's zoom in onto this pizza. You see this big ass pizza? Where you been at, man?
I brought parts.
Give me these bolts.
I brought children's Benadryl.
For what?
For your nephew.
This is not what we're worried about.
It's a CVS brand though.
Man. Back to laying on the ground, people. Fixing this man's car, who clearly doesn't give a damn about me, or else he would have been here helping. So everything is bolted up. As you can see, I'm sweating up a storm down here. I'm pretty much done. That's all I needed was the bolts, and that's it.